So today, as we honor the immigrant, I would like to start with one of the stories that is so very dear to me, is the story of a Guatemalan refugee, Abel. Abel was born in 1972 into a family of 6 siblings in a small farming settlement in Zacualpa in the province of Quiché, Guatemala. They were of the indigenous ethnic group known as Quiché. Despite their poverty and social conditions, they were a happy family where strong family ties overcame the lack of money. At age 7, Abel began to work the land with his father. No school for Abel. After all, he was indigenous. At age 8, Abel heard talk of the guerrillas and how they took people from their homes and killed them. The biggest problem occurred when the government ordered the army to come into the area and combat the guerrillas. The problem was that all peasants were considered to be guerrillas. The army perpetrated indiscriminate massacres on innocent families who had done little more than cultivate their land. Abel's own uncle, with his family, were slaughtered by the troops, including the parents and 3 small children. They had barricaded themselves inside their simple homes for protection, but the army arrived, pouring gasoline around and on top of the house, and burned the whole family alive. In February in 1982, Abel's immediate family fell victim to the army. Abel was working in a field not far from home. With no allusions to the brutality of the army, an uncle insisted that Abel's father move his family, that he move into the mountains for protection. But the dad refused because he was not guilty of anything. A few days later, Abel saw the army arrive and order his parents, his 16-year-old sister with an infant on her back, and 5 siblings to line up, and the soldiers began to machine gun all of them. The children ran into their home for cover, hid under the beds. The army poured gasoline over the roof and all around and burned alive the holy innocents as their 10-year-old brother looked on from an adjacent field. Abel is 10 years old. He's traumatized. He's filled with sadness and fear. He has lost everything and everybody in his life. He started walking and met a man called Pedro. Pedro listened to his story, and he worked with him for 3 months. He moved on to another house where he worked for 3 years. He became a shoemaker and lived independently in Escuintla, far away from his native Quiché. He completed the 6th grade, met a teacher who reached out to him and helped him finish high school. He was now old enough to realize that he was a victim of genocide, as were indigenous people in Guatemala, and are. Why do the native people not have any rights? Abel asked himself. First they were exploited and reviled, then they were killed. He was terrified. He decided he was going to leave Guatemala and cross the border to forget. I met Abel when he called from Laredo Detention Center in Texas, requesting funds for his release. He told his story. With such a compelling story, East Bay Sanctuary bonded him out of detention, gave him refuge in Casa Francisca in Oakland. That's the house that has been supported and is supported by our congregation and other religious congregations. Abel was a model guest all the way and a model student. Of course, he won political asylum. It was the only case that I know that the judge said, Abel, you don't have to go through this case. It's too terrible. Abel is now a bona fide citizen of the United States. He is married with 2 beautiful children. He hopes to return to Guatemala to do something to relieve the pain and the suffering of his family. So let us honor the life of Abel and his family and all Abels who have suffered the same punishment and suffering.